The Democratic Party in the United States of America is trying to ignite a civil war. I never thought I would say anything like this, but unfortunately, the facts point exactly to that. It seems that Trump will have to invoke the Insurrection Act, which was passed by Congress in 1807 and I believe was last used by President Bush. At the very least, the White House, well, I don't know if they will or won't implement it. There are various rumors about this, but the White House is giving signals that most likely they will. I wouldn't be surprised if it's implemented before we finish this video. So, the place is Minnesota, and the reason is the attempts by the Democratic Party, at least in Minnesota, to incite armed resistance against federal officials and the killing of federal officials. By the way, they don't care who gets killed. The main thing for them is to make a fuss that someone was killed. So the real true reasons for inciting this rebellion are that the Democratic Party is trying to prevent investigations into the thefts that were committed by this very Democratic Party. At least in Minnesota, I doubt this is only from the past 7 years. According to preliminary estimates, about half of the $18 billion from Minnesota's special programs was stolen. These are various social programs, so that's $9 billion, half of 18, that's $9 billion. Moreover, we don't know exactly how directly they were involved, whether they just covered it up, participated, or received money, but it seems that the governor of the state and the mayor of Minneapolis were involved. The state attorney general and many other lower-level party officials. And the robbery was carried out by new immigrants from Somalia, about half of whom, there are 150,000 living in Minnesota, and I think another 80,000 elsewhere in the country, at least half of them. These 150,000 people were brought in completely illegally. And before that, they were engaged, in industrial-scale piracy. And they were also involved in kidnapping. So they seem to have firearms in their hands now, and for now it's only firearms, and they're planning to fight for the stolen money. They used to be yours, now they're ours, and we're going to protect them. Obviously, life isn't sweet for them without money. Protecting what was stolen.
Welcome everyone to this big show. Right now we have a pretty serious situation unfolding here in Minneapolis. Over the next few hours, it is expected that the President of the United States will actually invoke the Insurrection Act. And the reason is that this is a state that cannot keep the situation under control. All the videos we've received, some of which I will show you, lead everyone to the same conclusion. There is neither the will, nor the desire, nor the ability to control the situation in Minneapolis right now. And as a result, they will have to consider invoking the so-called Insurrection Act of 1807, which is very rarely used. It was invoked by the Bush administration in 1992. Again, we can recall Arkansas, civil rights, integration issues, the challenges that forced Dwight Eisenhower to invoke the Insurrection Act in 1922. And if we go back to the days of Lincoln, well, that's where it all started. So many people are wondering, what is the Democrats' goal in all of this?
Gentlemen, this is something new. Yes, well, maybe not entirely new, but on a new level. We've reached a new level of looting. Of course, we've had looting and robbery before. There was Black Lives Matter. Now, by the way, the leadership is in jail, on trial. Some are in jail, some are on trial. So, dear, this organization was involved in theft and fraud, and now they're being prosecuted. And we had beatings of students and arson of universities by fascists who, for some reason, called themselves anti-fascists. Well, for some reason, they called themselves anti-fascists just to be called anti-fascists. And so they beat up Jews in exactly the same way as the fascists did, absolutely the same. In other words, both the fascists and the anti-fascists beat up the same Jews. They are now on trial, but not for attacks on Jews, only for arson, assaults on others, and killing police officers. We have already had women driven mad by unbearable loneliness and sexual frustration who ran over soldiers. A soldier has a special place in his pants, and that place is more precious than anything. I read that in a course. I remember a shot in 1971, I think. That place is a pocket, and inside it is a photo of his fiancée who won't wait for him in Moscow. This poem won some newspaper contest and the shot for the most romantic poem of the year. A soldier has a secret place in his trousers. So far, there haven't been any robberies of military bases or pulling police bullets, rifles, or grenades out of cars yet. I don't know, that is, there hasn't been any of this seizure of firearms, there just hasn't been. And here we go again.
Hi, Greg, this is John. We know it's been a busy few weeks in Minneapolis. We see the resistance flag in the footage we've been watching, although our camera just went out. We don't know why. It could just be the battery, and it'll probably start working again. This echoes what the governor of Minnesota said last night, urging people to resist immigration and customs enforcement and record everything with cameras. Protesting directly in front of the federal building where immigration and customs enforcement is located creates a confrontation between protesters and immigration and customs enforcement. Do you think that's the way people should protest against the presence of immigration and customs enforcement, or should they have a separate area where protesters can express their opinions? But to avoid confrontation...
Of course, nobody wants direct confrontation. John, we respect anyone's First Amendment rights to express their grievances. We just ask that these grievances be expressed in a civilized and nonviolent manner. And this is where it seems many of these people cross the line, whether it's at the UIPLA federal building or anywhere else, because they are encouraged, and we've talked about this many times with Andrea and John, they are encouraged to cross that line and, as you yourself say, to resist. And that's not at all the same as exercising First Amendment rights to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly.
Some protesters currently work 6 days a week for $1,000 to $1,200 with only 1 day off. And I know there are some who come out in this terrible cold just for fun, not because they're being paid. So, as you might say, it can't be that they're such idiots. Maybe. But those aren't the ones stealing weapons. So these people make up a kind of background of popular resistance. And usually, well, let's say they're a bit out of their minds. The press claims that 55% of the population is against what ACE is doing, meaning the immigration policy. Immigration police? What policy? AS is the immigration police, so what am I? Supposedly, 55% of the population thinks that AS is doing something illegal. I don't know if you believe it or not. Believe their polls. The governor, the mayor, and even the attorney general, who are being investigated for large-scale theft, by the way, are demanding that the public go out and resist this very immigration police. Yes, law or lawlessness, the choice is ours. And what does the immigration police do? Do they stop them? Law, lawlessness, law, lawlessness, law? For some reason, lawlessness protects them. It's not really clear why. But when you are lawlessness, like you killed a child, it means they want to arrest you, or they want to arrest him, and we, the parents of the child, will go. So we protest against the murderer being arrested. We demand that he be left alone, the murderer, because well, I don't even know why. Just don't touch him, that's all. Let him leave peacefully, Kill another 2 or 3 children, and then we'll figure it out. And if some journalist writes the truth about this, yes, they'll be pelted with stones, rotten pasta, or tomatoes, I guess. Although it's a shame to waste a tomato, or with mud. Mud is not a pity. That's what those who have already been caught, or are about to be caught for theft, are like. And they talk about armed resistance to the police, who are trying to investigate, well, let's say the fraudsters in their state. They want to investigate us, and we'll shoot at them for that. So here's a story about how the police tried to arrest a criminal, and 2 of his accomplices ran out from around the corner, intervened, tried to free him, but they were all caught. But listen to the instructions of the bandit, in my opinion, who serves, well, it doesn't matter. A bandit can serve anywhere, and this one serves in the mayor's office. Yes, about how he thinks other bandits should act. Bandits resisting the police.
If there were neighbors and others who came out to help this person, this is just one example of how Minnesota is a place where we always help our neighbors. And we are making it absolutely clear that immigration agents come here, and there are more than 2,000 of them here, and they are constantly attacking and terrorizing our state. So yes, neighbors will come out and help. I'm not quite sure if they had brooms or a shovel. That question requires further investigation.
Is 2,000 agents a lot or a little? 2,000 police arrived in a city of 3.7 million. This is called Twin City, meaning there are basically 2 cities on either side of the river, and the bandits who operate in these 2 cities try to escape from them. And sometimes when they see that there is only one or just a few, they try to attack those very police officers and rescue their own, or simply beat and kill the police officers.
If they really had some kind of weapon to attack the officer ICE, would that change anything? What do you think happened next?
That's the main thing.
Actually, no, isn't it? Because from our point of view, we wanted to make sure, and we always want to be sure, that the people of Minnesota are treated properly.
So the city and state leadership also support arming residents to resist whom? Well, naturally, the federal authorities, so to speak, who are trying to make arrests here or there to somehow remove criminals from their state's territory. Let them arm themselves, just as long as, God forbid, our dear bandits and murderers aren't killed, arrested, or driven out. We want them to stay in our city, on our streets. I've never heard anything like this in my life. Never. I thought that men who bathe in women's bathhouses was the limit. No, but this is already, so to speak. This has gone far, far beyond just healthy 2-meter tall men who can take a shower together with 15-year-old girls. And if the girls come back, they get expelled from universities. But this even surpasses that.
No, this won't change anything since you still believe this is the best approach and that Minnesotans will be treated fairly. If people take up arms, are you kidding? Hey, I mean, this is just madness. And you know what? Let's listen to it again, just to be absolutely sure. Here's what he said. Listen.
If they really had some kind of weapon to attack Officer Ace, would that change your opinion about what happened next?
Really? No, yeah, no, right, because we will do everything possible to make sure people protect themselves. Well, wow, you know, I think they love the Second Amendment. In a moment like this, oh my God, it gets out of control, and I want to show you why. So there's a reporter, a citizen journalist, not a local, I think he's from Minneapolis, named Nick Sardar. He went to the scene and filmed something that I'm going to share with you. Just listen. Because some people broke into a federal vehicle and ripped out a locked metal box filled with weapons and tried to open it. Well, here we go. I want to show you this video. And you tell me if we need the military on the ground there under the Insurrection Act of 1807 or what? Because Minneapolis clearly can't and won't fight this. Handle it. Take a look. This is the car's glove compartment. You see, they're running up to him, they're excited, they pulled him out of the car. This is a federal car, I should note, we've already confirmed that. So they have a federal vehicle with a box inside that's stuffed with weapons, guns, and so on, and now they're trying to open it. It's full of weapons. And that's one of the reasons why the President of the United States is now meeting with lawyers, considering the possibility of invoking the Insurrection Act. There are worries that things will spiral out of control. In Minneapolis, it seems like lawmakers almost want it to happen, and now they're trying to open it. Thank God, apparently the lock was too tight. They couldn't do it, but I think this is really an example of what our immigration and customs enforcement agents and the federal government are facing in Minneapolis. And this is being encouraged. Remember, this is where the 2020 Black Lives Matter George Floyd riots happened. They are, in a way, well coordinated and prepared for this kind of thing because they had experience not only 6, but also 5 years ago. Again, they're desperately trying to open that locker full of weapons and ammunition, and thank God they didn't succeed in that attempt. But what does that say about where we are right now on the streets of Minneapolis? What does it say about the Minneapolis police and their ability to keep this under control? And all this while they're being told not to help immigration and customs enforcement, not to help immigration and customs enforcement. So what happens if these people get hold of those weapons and then turn them on immigration and customs enforcement? Again, if we listen to the local Democrat from Minnesota, this is perfectly normal.
Here are attempts to get weapons. And do you think any of these people, the ones who are trying to get these weapons, do you think any of them, will they hesitate if their boss from the city administration tells them to climb onto some roof or the 3rd floor and shoot out of a window at the police? I think you don't even need to persuade him. And if he smokes something or sniffs something, he'll start shooting anyone point blank with enthusiasm and joy. And just now in Minnesota, they arrested an illegal immigrant who decided, well, to attack the immigration police. He actually decided to attack them. Why? Because his bosses told him and the others to go ahead and attack. Here is the crowd organized by the Democrats to attack the guests, and the faces where these very police officers, well, immigration police officers, stopped and settled.
I want to draw your attention to the fact that people are literally walking towards danger. Citizen journalist Nick Sorter filmed this video after facing an enraged crowd 2 nights ago. It's unthinkable. Put down your weapon. Put the damn weapon down. They surrounded his car, trying to get him out. That's him. He's in Minnesota. He's protected by his constitutional rights. If there's no police officer willing to stop this and put an end to it, then it means something needs to be done. Get off the road. Away from here. And still, this city is basically burning down. That's right. In Minneapolis, everything is burning, but don't tell the old media about it because they aren't reporting it. The media only reports on what happened to Rene Good, about what happened to the Venezuelan illegal immigrant who was a criminal they were tracking. And this guy attacks, think about it, 2 immigration and customs enforcement agents literally last night, and he attacks them. And what, they don't have the right to any self-defense? That's the leftist mentality now. That's what they think in the mainstream media. If you look at citizen journalists like Nick, he was present and found this video, which may have been filmed by PG. At the site where they found A's, people in Minneapolis thought A's were at this hotel, so they gathered there and tried to cause a stampede.
Let me remind you again, only the authorities of Minnesota can establish order in their own state, set order. No one else can come in and start establishing order. This should be handled by state and city authorities, as each has its own area and responsibilities. If the president wants to intervene, he must either ask the state leadership. Well, he can offer, but not allow. They won't invite him just like that, right? Or he can introduce that special law on fighting rebellion, which I already told you about.
With shouts like, "To hell with immigration and customs enforcement, to hell with immigration and customs enforcement," and Somali flags. Trying to provoke the police, they are basically trying to escalate the situation more and more. Of course, to turn it into a bigger and bigger problem. This is encouraged, not stopped. Walsh is not cooperating with the President of the United States of America. Jacob Frey is not cooperating with the President of the United States of America. Jacob Frey, go ahead and try, ICE. Get out or we'll keep this up. No, you won't, mister.
Naturally, we, America, cannot afford to let the billions stolen by the Democrats be used to destroy our own lives. And here's the mayor of the city, meaning Minneapolis. He seems to be involved in some very large schemes, and as a result, he's afraid. What is he afraid of? Is he afraid of prison?
Get out of Minneapolis. Get the hell out of Minneapolis right now. You stated that your purpose for being in this city is to provide at least some safety, but you are doing the exact opposite, completely the reverse. A person has died, and all the responsibility for this lies solely with you. It was no. This is not the fault of the federal government. This is your personal responsibility.
They are the ones inciting, egging people on. They are the ones sending psychopaths against the police, sending them. They are the ones suggesting to take up arms and resist. Nothing will happen to you for this. Don't worry. What is a mutiny, Mitesh?
They want this, they want it, they want it, they want to provoke some kind of civil war. That's what this could lead to. Okay, the next thing that will happen is that the President of the United States will invoke the Insurrection Act. He really has no choice given what's happening. As he said this morning on his platform, Truth Social, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't follow the laws and don't stop the professional provocateurs and insurgents from attacking the immigration and customs enforcement patriots who are just doing their job, I will invoke the Insurrection Act, as many presidents before me have done, and quickly put an end to the chaos happening in this once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald John Trump, listen, he currently has every right to do this. You know, such authority really exists. There are legal grounds. It's all pretty simple and clear. The military will be needed there to keep the situation under control because obviously Walsh isn't going to do it. And by the way, he also noted that the honorable judge refused to block immigration and customs enforcement operations. Do you know why? Because guess what? Hey guys, I have news for you. For those idiots who don't understand the Constitution of the United States of America, I'm telling you, we need better civics programs in our schools. All right, here's the thing. The Constitution guarantees certain rights, and if a state thinks it can flip us off and not enforce that, then you know what's going to happen. The Insurrection Act, because guess what? Immigration and Customs Enforcement's job is to make sure the laws are actually enforced.
So what is this Insurrection Act when the president can send troops into sovereign states? The Insurrection Act?
It is, so it's the law about insurrection. They won't have a choice, they'll have to go along with it, and state authorities basically can sometimes request help, right? Because they can't control the violence or unrest, but that's not required. Again, like I said, refer to 252 through 253. You don't need the state to ask for help. Federal law can't be enforced if it's unexecuted because of insurrection, rebellion, or mass resistance. Boom. Yes, you can apply the Insurrection Act of 1807. The constitutional rights of citizens are being violated, and the states are refusing or unable to protect those rights. That's exactly what happened in Minneapolis. You're putting many American citizens in danger. And that's not even mentioning the fraud itself. It's fraud, it's crazy, it's insane. And I want to talk about it because, listen, it's already out of control and it needs to be managed. We're talking about $700 million in 2 years that left in cash, in suitcases from Minneapolis Airport to Dubai, more than from any other airport, more cash from there. That's what they admitted. Imagine what they didn't. We're talking about $9 billion in fraud in Minnesota.
The United States Democratic Party wants to distract from its gangster behavior and theft, and is trying to ignite, as I said at the very beginning, the start of a civil war in Minnesota. Look, I'm almost certain that very soon the same thing will start happening in other states where the governors and leadership are Democrats. They want war, mass casualties, fires, anything at all, as long as their theft and other crimes aren't investigated. It's an act of self-defense to kill as many of us as possible, an act of self-defense to kill as many of us as possible. Why are the Dems nervous? Because otherwise they're done for and they're ready to destroy as many of us as it takes to save their own skins. And here is one of the main organizers of the scheme through which billions were stolen.
Yesterday, you told me to read up when I asked about the $9 billion fraud you denied. Well, I read it. Look, the chairwoman of the committee is opening the hearing on the major $9 billion fraud case. That's what this is.
The committee thinks so, as do Scott Besson, federal prosecutors, the House Oversight Committee, and Minnesota representatives. They're just as smart as you. Can you really think that way? Ma'am, you should get checked out. Your brain doesn't seem normal. I hope you get help. Republicans, take care of yourselves. Ma'am?
I'm sorry.
I can't visit the training centers you're organizing in Minnesota, but ma'am, I think you might want to read what actually...
Maybe I need a training center myself.
Yes.
You know, vocational training.
Wow.
Who are they?
The journalist who asked about the theft immediately became an enemy. Personally, to me, this seems almost like an admission of guilt, an admission of committing a crime.
Ilhan Omar, when asked about the $9 billion fraud in Minnesota, basically told the woman that she needed help, that she was very stupid, and that obviously her brain was fried. That's all you're capable of. Wow, and that reporter really needs one of those training centers. And she's so upset about this whole investigation that's going on right now that she's now insisting on a complete halt to funding and doesn't want immigration and customs enforcement to be funded in any way. Good luck to you with that.
Ilhan has taken an official stance on holding immigration and customs enforcement accountable. Members of our caucus will oppose any funding for immigration enforcement in any appropriations bills until meaningful reforms are enacted to end militarized policing practices.
That is, the Democrats, the entire United States Congress, have stated that if you don't stop investigating crimes in Minnesota, well, our crimes in Minnesota, we, the Democrats, won't allow any funding for anything related to immigration. We will start riots. We will cause destruction, anything at all. We will shut down all your various initiatives if you don't stop the investigation. This is what you call a tantrum. In my view, no, yes. Also, Ilkan's recent action was exactly like this. So, she slipped it in? Well, they have this practice both in Congress and in the Senate. She quietly, very quietly, slipped it into some bill that generally talks about, let's say, how to name a river or a bridge over a certain river. And suddenly there are 10 more amendments in it, but nobody reads them. Because now you'll understand why. With the help of her Democrat friends, she added this one-page amendment like that. Here's the plan. Urgently allocate just over $1 million. To whom? You'll see now.
And one of our spending bills being considered by Congress included allocating $1 million from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. What happened? The earmarked funds, which were supposedly intended for a drug treatment clinic, were actually going to a restaurant run by 3 individuals living at the same address. According to their documents, there are a lot of red flags from the tax authorities. This is what we saw in the case of the daycare fraud. Now we see other earmarks coming directly from members of Congress, where it also appears that fraud is being committed. That's why I raised this issue, and fortunately the House of Representatives has now removed this earmark from that spending bill. But again,
if the Democrats were in charge, well, so to speak, whoever has the majority is in charge. Yes, they definitely wouldn't have thrown it out, and it would have quietly passed. And our million and some change would have gone to 3 Somalis. And Ilkan, well, for what? For pins, of course. but a bit more for her, just out of respect. $30 million a year, that's like... Ilhan suddenly had $30 million in a year. No one knows where it came from. It wasn't there, and then suddenly it appeared. Probably just because she said she doesn't know how it happened. She just doesn't know, that's all. Well, she doesn't know how it happened. You don't believe it, do you? Aren't you ashamed? Trust me, that's it. From the airport in Minneapolis, only according to official data, $700 million have been taken out. People reported they were taking out cash. There's no ban on taking money out, but you must declare amounts over $10,000 and explain what you're taking out. You might think, 700 million, no. That's more than from all other airports in the United States combined. Yes, long live the Democratic Party of Minnesota, which has surpassed even the Democratic Party of California in theft. Well, no, in terms of cash export, the rest, of course, California is ahead.
Tim Walz has become a political burden for the entire Democratic Party at the moment. This is a person who a year ago spoke on the national stage during the vice presidential debates. He boasted about how easy it was to access childcare in Minnesota. In reality, he was talking about a multi-billion-dollar fraud scandal that happened right under his nose. I believe this will greatly impact the election.
Well, all right, that's what's happening here, but what's going on abroad?
Right now, as you're watching this, something absolutely unprecedented is happening in the Middle East. There's a very good reason why Iran's airspace was completely closed last night. There's a reason why the supreme leader is hiding in an underground bunker right now, and there's a reason why regime officials are frantically moving billions of dollars out of the country as fast as they can. All of this is connected to the most ominous military force on the planet, moving across the ocean toward the Persian Gulf.
So, gentlemen, very soon we will start informing you about what is happening both here and in our near abroad, like Cuba, and farther away, like Iran and Israel. Of course, Putin is happy, absolutely happy, that the attention has shifted to other places, and quietly he is killing more and more people, both his own and others. But, by the way, he might actually consider everyone to be outsiders. But now I'll tell you what they have in common, what the similarity is, the sameness in. They are like twins, fraternal twins, identical fraternal twin brothers. That's right, Atali, the Democratic Party, at least in Minnesota, the leaders of Cuba and the Lake Cooperative. They all absolutely don't care about us, about our lives, about our children, about our real future, about our interests, about our problems. Well, they absolutely don't care, and it's not like some care more or less. They all equally don't care about us and everything connected to us. That's why we have to... Why should we worry about them? Let them fall. Let them go to hell. Moreover, the deeper they fall, the better, in my opinion. And what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Please don't forget to write your comments. And most importantly, a true friend always shares my shows with their friends. Goodbye.